Excellent. So we're kicking off. This is a briefing from key councillor relationships, councillor spokespeople. It's a continuation of our governance work that we've been doing. Teflon, you're leading this, and Megan, Simon. Actually, this is a good opportunity to finally introduce Simon. Simon Tapp. What is your title? Okay.
Let me check, Sir Simon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I am the Senior Strategic Advisor to the Chair Environment.
That's the one. So Simon works closely alongside Jan and myself to do things, but we'll also work with the team here to make things happen. It's kind of the my version of Patrick for Stephanie, and they work very closely together. We've also got Megan, who works very closely alongside me as well, and we'll work to get communications out around all of the things that we are doing. We're really trying to lift the bar of understanding of the public about what the work that ECAN or the Regional Council does, but also when things are going on, trying to unpick those pieces, and Megan is doing a fantastic job at doing that, so thank you very much. And Simon, your advice has been fantastic already, so maybe we can we'll kick off, but if you just wanted to do a 2-second introduction to yourself as well, Simon, for the people, and then we'll get straight into it, Taff.
Sure thing. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, councillors, for the time. Most recently, I was with the Ministry of Business Innovation and Employment and the Regional Development Unit. Whilst there, I actually supported ECAN inadvertently through supporting Minister Jones in applying the first tranche of the Regional Infrastructure Fund funding towards some of the river management projects we have underway here. Prior to that, I've been with the Department of Conservation, run Ministers' offices, and some time with Parliamentary Service and the Ministry of Education too.
Excellent. And we've also got Jack Fletcher at the table as well. No, that's Jack. I've got the wrong person. Elliot. I apologise, Elliot. I actually need to get better at names, don't I? I will get there. But anyway, Taff, over to you. Thank you.
Kia ora, councillors, and thank you, Chair. So just quickly, Elliot is in the comms team, as is Megan, and obviously Simon's just done his introduction. So Elliot looks after the stakeholder relationship management system for the organisation. Obviously not all of the stakeholder relationships, but Elliot will talk a little bit around how that works as well. So basically what we wanted to bring back to you today was continue the conversation that councillors started on the Noho Marae around relationships and spokespeople and how that will work amongst yourselves and what staff can do to support that. So we really wanted to put some ideas out this morning, and just as a bit of a catalyst for the conversation amongst yourselves so we can get some good guidance. The other bit of the context piece is that while in the past we've had sort of stakeholder relationship management support systems and things in place for council, they've really been sort of peacetime constructs, if you like. Now the world has changed, as you know, since you arrived last October. So it's really making sure that that is a fit for purpose construct, and what else you want from us, how else we can help in the current environment, because it is different. So the team are going to introduce their own areas and can introduce what they've been working on. And then Megan is going to lead the conversation with yourself so we can get some good guidance back from you. So I'll hand straight to Megan.
Thank you. Kia ora koutou. Ngā mihi nui mō te āheinga ki kōrero I tēnei rā. So thank you very much for the opportunity. Apologies if my te reo wasn't perfect, but I'm learning and I'm enjoying using it. As Taff and our chair have explained, we're here to talk to you about relationship leads and spokespeople. And the first slide I've put up might be a little bit triggering for some of you, but it's to speak or not to speak. That is the question. It's also the when, who, how, what, and everything like that. We are here to advise you. We're not here to tell you what you can or can't say. And as already explained, the idea is that you get together as a council and decide how you want to represent yourselves as well. I will advise, but it's up to you to decide how you want to take that advice and go forth and speak or not to speak. Understandably, every councillor here wants to have the right answers and give information to their constituents, and we can give you some help today on how you can get that information and ways that you can reach your constituents. And just think of ways, the best ways to get information out to the public. So how you do that, what could you say and when could you say it, and who can help you with that. Hopefully we'll be your first port of call for that. An overview of what we're going to talk about, council relationship leads, the key relationships that you have. Elliot will talk to this, your expectations on us and how we can support you. Councillor spokespeople roles, there are already some set up, so dealing with those community questions with media and attending community events and how you and what you could say there. And then finally, something that we've already experienced a lot of over the past 2 or 3 weeks is incident response. So we've been asked to provide you some information on how you get information out to the public in that situation as well, and the councillor role when an incident hits and how you can best support us so that we can best support you. First up, I would like to introduce, so you can see him, kanohi ki kanohi, is Jack Fletcher, who is our Senior Communications and Engagement Advisor, who's actually not speaking today, but I did want you to say g'day to him. He manages and coordinates all the media that comes into Environment Canterbury. He has a strong background in media management. He was the media manager for Crusaders, and that conversation that happened, and did an amazing job through that. Well done, Jack. He's been a content producer for Christchurch NZ, a reporter in his past life, and also even worked in a bank. So has some great skills that he has brought and brings along every day to Environment Canterbury. So just wanted so that you know who's on the end of the media inbox when in triaging all of those inquiries. First up, we're going to talk about strategic relationships. You have already met Simon to my right, and I wanted to add something else to his resume, which might interest you, as Simon's actually also a commercial pilot and has flown extensively in Malaysia, was it? Indonesia, sorry. So you might want to have a conversation with him about that sometime. He's got some great stories. But he's here to talk about strategic relationships here today, so I'll hand over to Simon.
Kia ora, Megan. Thank you, and thank you, councillors, again. This slide essentially asks us at the very start, why should we invest in strategic relationships? And I want to pause and note that there are 2 questions within that. Why should we invest in strategic communications with our partners? And that's because essentially decisions are taken every day at every level of government, local, regional, central, that impact us and our work. And working with these decision makers and building relationships with them allows us to influence their decisions, influence the processes, and influence the outcome. And secondly, why should we as Canterbury Regional Council and yourselves as councillors, be investing in strategic communications and relationships? And that's because you are uniquely placed. You've been elected to represent Waitaha as a whole, and no other entity has that entire region-wide view. There's actually a third question in here too, which is, why bother investing in strategic relationships at all? And that's because I think there's incredible potential in here. When Canterbury Regional Council can speak as a unified, organised region, then it speaks with incredible scale and clout. We are the largest region in New Zealand, 44,500 square kilometres. We're the second most populous and the fastest growing, and one of the major drivers of New Zealand's economy at present. And when you as councillors manage to harness this collective view, it allows for really compelling advocacy towards our long-term aspirations. And Canterbury's voice is consolidated and heard. As an example, one of our aspirations, our long-term aspirations, is for safe multimodal transport choices to be available to communities. Now that's integral and centrally dependent upon the government policy statement on land transport. Engaging at that level, influencing that work, allows us to achieve our aspirations. Canterbury Region and this council is also very relevant to central government. I've conducted some analysis over the last day or two, and of the 123-seat parliament, 37 of those MPs have in some way an interest in Canterbury by either being based here or holding an electorate here, or having portfolios that overlap with our core services model of work. 11 of 28 ministers, that's 40%, or 5, including 5 cabinet ministers, have an interest in Canterbury. So we're very, very relevant to these conversations. And the council's enduring partnership with Ngāi Tahu is also central in being able to incorporate perspectives from across this region and bring that forward into these relationships and its communication. Working as a single cohesive entity and representing the region also makes us a lot easier to deal with, and partners like that. If you can successfully harness and represent the views of communities from north of Kaikoura to Waitaki, then you will get taken seriously. We do get taken seriously as a voice for those communities in a really compelling way. Operating professionally and cohesively like this also means we build respect and influence. And within that, we build space for healthy disagreement. Being a reliable and trusted partner in these strategic relationships does not always mean necessarily agreeing with everything that our partners say. But when we disagree, we're respected and taken seriously. And that reputation as a trusted partner is built on the foundation that I've already, in my few brief weeks here, seen councillors establish around this table. And Councillors Robinson and Sunkel, I apologise in advance for paraphrasing your words, but it was wonderful to see last week the discussion around the resource management and simplifying local government proposals, where I think essentially the words were, I don't see my specific words in here in this submission, but I see a reflection of what happened at this table. And that's essentially one of the norms of mature, responsible governance. It's essentially cabinet collective responsibility being demonstrated there. And that appreciation of difference is what makes this governing body stronger together. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Councillor Moody. I also forgot to say, if you have questions as we're going, you are welcome to ask them, and perhaps I just ask that it comes through the chair, please, but you're welcome to ask questions as we go. Next, we have our councillor relationship leads. And to discuss this about relationship engagement or stakeholder engagement, we have Elliot Sim, who the chair referenced first. Elliot is the Principal Communications and Engagement Advisor here at Environment Canterbury. He has been a Senior Communications Advisor for creative agencies, has experience in account management and business development, and also client engagement in legal and tech industries, and has a pretty vast experience now working in other local councils as well. He also loves dirt bike riding and is also a qualified truck driver. So there's some things you can talk to Elliot about. Oh, and I must add, also represented Canterbury at age group rugby as well. So there's lots of experience and skills in the back there. But he's here to talk to us today about relationships and how we can...
so we've got all bases covered.
All bases.
Truck drivers,
yep.
we've got pilots.
Everything.
Have we got a train driver here somewhere? Joe, are you still online? No, anyway, sorry. I've got a jet boat driver down the end there.
Oh.
Ian.
Thank you, Megan. Kia ora, everyone.
Sleep.
Okay, I'm here to talk about key relationships. The categories you see here contain stakeholder organisations that have a direct impact on the delivery of our three core services and are aligned with a statutory need or other significant driver. We hold many relationships across organisation. Our science teams, for example, work closely with research institutes, tertiary institutions. Our operations teams work closely with farming industry groups, membership organisations. We also work with community organisations and non-government organisations on projects that align with our priorities. Next slide, please. We've talked a bit about relationships in the past. You may recall sessions where we've shared the draft overview and then we've provided a copy that's currently on the wall in the Councillors' Lounge. I hope you're finding that useful. Together, we've agreed to allocate one accountable relationship lead at staff level and another at governance level. The structure shows the primary point of contact and is giving a single view of a key relationship. This was updated earlier in the year and reflects appointments to roles by council and changes requested by councillors last year. So thank you all very much for your input into that and getting this to this point now. I'd like to point out that these relationships aren't necessarily set in concrete and they will be reviewed regularly.
John Faulkner, and then Megan. Okay, Megan.
Well, only because you said along the way you want... So So that one kaimahi, one counsellor, accountable relationship lead, so that's slide 5, that's what you've just spoken to. Could you give a couple of examples of that? Because I'm really still I'm unclear what that means.
Yeah, thank you. It's a really good clarification question. So this is for maintaining the, managing the relationship and keeping accountable for it. It doesn't mean that that's all the contact there will be. So, for example, I caught up with Councillor Faulkner this morning and Councillor Mackay, and we talked about the relationship allocations there. So Kaikoura District Council, for example, has been allocated from a councillor perspective to Councillor Faulkner, and from a ELT perspective to myself. So it doesn't mean that there is no other contact with Kaikoura District Council from anywhere else within council or the business. It just means that if anybody wants to know what's going on, is there anything happening there that we could be responding to? Is there any issues that they've got that they need a point of contact? If it's at a governance level, it would be Councillor Faulkner. If it's at a staff level and they want to come into the business and get some help, they don't know where to start, it would be myself. So that's what we've done with the allocation. It doesn't mean other people are not interacting.
Okay, great. So then I just have a follow-up with that then. When you go back the slides to the key relationships or forward a slide, and it says mana whenua, minister, industry groups. So is there one staff member for each of the 10 mana whenua groups that I need to be aware of?
There is one staff member for all of them at ELT level, and that's David. Is David in the room? No, he is not. Davo. yeah, as the contact point. And it does note up there a part of a separate system in terms of, because obviously it's a completely different relationship that we have with the 10 Papativu Runanga than it is for our stakeholder relationships.
Ashley, did you have a question? Oh, no. Okay, we'll carry on.
Thank you, Taff. And I can extend on that a wee bit. So the relationship lead is the person that's accountable for the overall health of the relationship and is the point of escalation for any issues. Please do continue to meet with your key relationships as you're already doing and doing a great job of. Staff also recommend that councillors consider bringing intel back to share with each other. This will help to form a collective understanding of perspectives. You all understand the importance of strong, healthy relationships. It's a core part of your role. You may be interested to know that we do have, at an operational level, a stakeholder relationship management system. This ensures we manage our relationships effectively, consistently, and with purpose. Kamahi are also here to support you all in managing relationships. If you have a meeting coming up and you require operational context, staff are available to provide that to you. We're also here to provide guidance on best practice relationship management. So for that, please just go through the normal governance channels. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any questions on that part? No, excellent, thank you.
We're whipping through this.
That's great.
Yeah.
We'll get all the questions at the end, I'm sure.
So as you all are aware, our core services are what we are fundamentally here to do. You know these inside out. We have core service leads for these, and they allow us to achieve the greatest environmental, social, economic and cultural outcomes for Waitaha Canterbury. So these are the three things that we're here fundamentally to do. And to do that, we have spokespeople as well. So we are, from a communications perspective, from a strategic perspective, we are always trying to position ourselves to be the leaders and the spokespeople of these. You are the spokespeople every time you head out into society and to meet the public. So you're spokespeople to your constituents. It's your job to listen to them, hear what they say, bring that back to your fellow councillors. It's also your role to talk to them as well and impart whatever information you have for them as well. And that may not be that you may not have the information, but always remember you can send them to the one source of truth, which is our website, to come directly there as well. So even if you don't have the answer right there and then, send them to the website, or you can go through that governance email and get the information directly that way too. You will from time to time be talking directly to media. There'll be some of you that will have more of that than others, and that's okay. Most of you have social media. We've already spoken about that previously. You'll all go and talk to community groups from time to time. And just remember that every time you do that, you are representing Environment Canterbury as well. Some of these, I've listed some of the roles up there, which are probably fairly obvious. So anything that happens with central government around politics, the chair and the deputy chair are quoted there. And then we have our core service leaves, so for public transport, environment regulation and protection, and community preparedness and response to hazards. So I will quite often call on councillors Davies, Mackay and Mackenzie. Sorry, you're probably getting a bit sick of me, but our relationship is just beginning. There are lots of other groups, and there's many more than listed here, but I've just listed some of the groups that many of you are involved in. And so when a media request or a media story idea comes up, then I'll look through it, and I'll look through the list of people I know that have an interest, and I will run them by the chair and say, who do you think, who should we talk to? I think this person because X, Y, Z, and we'll have a discussion around who should be the spokesperson. And so I know that there's other groups like the Greater Christchurch Partnership, Canterbury Mayoral Forum, although that is generally the chair that talks to that, Regional Transport Committee, Waste Joint Committee, and of course all your regions where you were voted in as well. But you may have a specific interest in fishing or recreation water use and things like that. I need to know about that, and I would really want to know about that. So if you have a passion about something and you would love to talk publicly about it, my request is please write to the government, not the government. They might be interested if you're a good fisher.
I'm not sure they're listening.
Yeah, we'll see.
I'm not sure they're listening. Sorry.
But try the governance at ecan.gov and let them know what. Write to me, Megan, and let me know what your interests are, and I'll start a bit of a register there so that I can call on you if you want to be a spokesperson for
I've got a question from Megan, the other Megan.
Yes, so I'm really trying to understand how it all works, and I'm sometimes a bit confused. So when it comes to just a couple of examples, and I find examples are helpful to work through. So if there's a compliance issue and it does hit the media, and it might be a significant compliance issue that we've just been through summer with a few compliance issues, then would that be Councillor Mackay that speaks to that, or is it the chair? And likewise with the Black Cat event or coastal events like that, is it Councillor Mackenzie or the chair? And if it's a civil defence emergency, is it Councillor Sunkel, Councillor Mackenzie, or the chair?
Or the chair of that civil defence group, which is Mari Black.
And therein lies the exciting job that I have.
Yes.
And so my job is to collect all of those names and decide and look at the incident itself, or what the story is, what the news story is, and then decide where we are best placed. And it might be that it's actually who's available, because if somebody's not in town or not available, then they can't be the spokesperson if TV want to come and interview them. It might be that there's a political angle to it, and if there's a political angle, then it will almost always be the chair that will be quoted. Or it might be that somebody has a passion in it and a really deep knowledge about it, and so we will go to that person. And so there is another example that Councillor Mackay that I can bring up regarding yourself, if it's all right. But, last week we had the Simplifying Local Government submissions. You were chair of the committee that signed those off. But because it was so political, we went with the chair of the council as the spokesperson for that. So there are these crossovers that we have to make decisions on. I considered who was going to speak to that. I spoke to the chair, and we decided it was a political spokesperson we needed at that level.
I guess the follow-up question to that is, so it's always the chair that decides, because sometimes I haven't framed this as a question, but I'll try to. So in my mind, when there's something happening that's really important, I'm going to leave the core service leads to get on and be the governance lens of the thing. And if I have a concern, I'm going to go to them, not the chair. And so I'm feeling like there is something going wrong here. If there's media statements going out and I'm not going to the right governance person, how do I know?
My advice is that if the chair has been brought in to be the spokesperson, then he's been brought in to sit at that political level, but he will be communicating with the core service leads, so it's so that they are aware. I also CC everyone in that. Like, so quite often if, say if I'm doing a regional story and we did it over summer and we had, and sorry, I was new then and so I'm still trying to figure out who sits where, but there was a story about the Southern Lakes and I CC'd in, I think it was Councillor Sunkel and Councillor Scott to say who wants to do this. I will have that discussion. Ultimately, I do have that discussion with the chair. And so, yes, he will delegate if that is required.
And the other complexity on that is that sometimes it'll be operational and then we'll put the staff will speak. And if you want to give that example of the Rolleston, where they came to me, I'll come to you in a second, Ian. But we decided that it was an operational. If you just want to explain that as well.
Would you like me to explain that?
Yeah.
Further. So a journalist called the chair directly and asked about targeted funding that had been taken from the Selwyn area, and so we came back with an answer, but it was a really technical answer, and so we went into some detail around where that targeted funding is and whether we had matched funding and what was happening with that, and so it became a really operational answer, and so the response was from operations, not from the council.
Close out so I can get clear line of sight. The example that you gave of last week, the strategy and policy, and then you said we make sure everyone's included. Well, I mean, clearly I wasn't included and I didn't know about that, and thank you for letting me know. But if you're saying that core service leads are always going to be included in those discussions and I can continue to go with them, then I'm satisfied I can do that.
Ian, did you have something there?
Well, yeah, I think Megan's touched on quite a good point in that it seems to me that if we are going to have protocols, then the chair should actually talk to the core service leads before he makes a decision on who's going to say what, or at least discuss with the core service lead what is said so that there is some connection there. And that hasn't happened for a...
Well, actually, that has happened, Ian, and by and large, there's been a lot of communications that you've been involved in recently, as well as Joe Davies, as well as
on the examples that Megan
on
gave,
those examples, yes, responses.
There was no discussion, and I'm not saying that as a core service lead, I want to be, but at least I think the courtesy of actually saying this is what we're going to say. Does that match with those things that you've done? And I think that's just reasonable.
Yeah, no, I think that's fine. I don't have an issue, but saying that hasn't happened is actually not correct. Genevieve?
I can see both sides of the equation here. I think we need consistency in what we're saying, but also we need the core service lead's voice in there. So even if they have been quoted or something, that needs to be incorporated into whatever the chair says as a core service lead so that their voice is acknowledged. And I think, yes, just a sentence to that effect is essential, I think, going forward.
Claire?
I think it's very much horses for courses. Operational versus politics and versus getting the message out needs to be really carefully considered. So I'll sit here and take advice. Thank you.
I think councillors too will recall that in the past we've tried to put some clear protocols, if you like. If it's this, then it's this. And that, I think that's a useful construct, but it also, we do have to navigate the grey. And as we said at the beginning, we're in different times than normal as well. So we'll put together a framework, if you like, of what we usually do, and then we'll also make sure that we're having those good conversations when we're navigating those grey spaces. Yeah, and this is fantastic, this conversation. Thank you, because this is exactly what we need to hear. Is what do you want us to do, and agree it between yourselves, and we'll take that guidance back. So, thank you.
Thank you, and I hear you loud and clear, Councillor Mackenzie. I will. I don't know how long I can use this, but I'm new here. But I will. I will make sure that I include all of the core service leads.
So look, I just want to make my comments absolutely crystal clear, and that is, I've got no great pretension to want to be quoted in the media at all. But I think it's critical that the chair, when he is reflecting, you and the chair are reflecting on how you might respond to an issue, especially if it's a core service lead discussion, that they talk to the core service leads to make sure that what is said is is appropriate. Now, that might be a 2-second conversation, and the chair can still, be the most popular person in Canterbury. I'm not interfering with that, but I just think we need to have more coordination in that area.
Thank you, and understood.
Andrea?
Just to keep in mind, so we are trying to educate the public, right? And I think when I read articles and there's a quote from the chair, and then there's another quote from someone else in the department, like the core lead, oh, that's what they do. There's the core lead. And it's really good for educating the public, and it makes it stronger, the article. So, yeah.
Ashley, did you have some? Oh, you keep putting your hand out, and I was like, you just animated, I imagine. Anybody else got questions on that? Okay, we'll carry on.
I do request or urge the councillors to have a discussion around, particularly those core service leads, but all of the spokespeople roles that we and that you have as your, in your positions here, about how you are going to represent the council and how you go forth and do speak to the public. As Simon alluded to earlier, there was the oath, and in fact, I think I'm paraphrasing Councillor Sunkel here, that you come into the council with your own opinions and your constituents. You've had your discussions with your constituents, and you have a really robust discussion in here, which is visible to everyone because we live stream everything, so it is transparent. And then you reach a decision as a council, and then you present that decision. And mature governance does go out and present that position as one. And so I do urge councillors to have that discussion. I'm not telling you what to say, when to say, or how to say it, but I'm advising you that that's a really good discussion to have as a council. Are there any questions on that one? Okay. So on that, we have some position statements, and these ones on this page are actually taken from the latest submission. So I guess in relation have been endorsed by the council because these are what are in the submission. So just make yourself aware, I guess, of these and of the submissions in full. If you want there's a great summary on our website, so you can go in there and have a look at sort of the key themes or positions that have come out of the submissions that we've done on local government reform. And then moving on to these ones, which were actually pulled together by the previous triennium, the previous council. And while the council members here haven't endorsed these ones, they are within, or the themes of them are within the submissions as well. And so I've pulled these through because I think they still stand and again are a good opportunity, a good back pocket for you when you're going out into the public to consider what the council's position is on some of these items. Right, moving on to incident. Does anyone have any questions on that? Okay. Moving on to incident response. Now, I was asked to have a discussion or at least a briefing on the incident response and what we do. When something big happens, it's a busy place up in, all throughout the council, and I'm speaking from a communications perspective, and I know the extra hours and the work that goes into communicating particularly with the public, but also with yourselves on what happens. And so I've written briefly down, or at least bullet pointed down what the process is for our teams. And so the incident response team initially will contact the media or our comms team to let us know what's happened. They will contact mana whenua and they'll address immediate public safety, and that might be putting signs up, or it might be contacting local community groups or something so they can get the word out immediately around whatever the incident is. The communications advisor picks up on this information, updates the web page with anything, updates the advisory team with a link to the website, and does any media, so that's social media, as well as sending out any proactive media if it's required. And as soon as the media find out about it, of course, answering all those questions that come in through the media inbox, which can be a lot. In a significant incident, we establish a core team. We agree on key messaging that we're going out with, and we have regular meetings to figure out what the updates are. SIT reps come out, you'll receive those through the operations, and that goes out to the executive leadership teams and councillors. And in those, I just ask you to be really clear on what you're able to talk about publicly and what's confidential. It will be marked if it's confidential. So that's just for your own information, so you understand what's happening in the incident. But the other information is able to be shared. We put news stories to the website, and at that point we'll consider a councillor spokesperson. We will go to core service leads. Thank you, Councillor Mackenzie, and look to see if we're going to actually bring in a councillor perspective there as well. Sometimes it is going to be operational, and sometimes it is quick and fast, and we will take who's on the ground to give to be the spokesperson there. Which is a great example of that is Black Cat, which happened 2 weekends ago now. It was a weekend. We had our amazing incident team on the ground there. There's some other things there we do. Contact relevant partners or agencies. We do stakeholder updates. We identify and notify those local groups to make sure that they can put out using their networks. And also we have a really strong internal comms as well. So we put notes up on our intranet. We send out, our directors send out emails to all of their teams, and our chief executive does teams, can do a Teams call or a newsletter out as well. So it's an involved
Got a couple of questions.
Great.
I've got one from Sarah, then Genevieve, then Megan.
Probably just one for the chair, almost. It's really when we have a core lead that's away, like at the moment, what happens then for spokesperson?
Well, at the moment, Joe is still available for doing proactive comms, and he's still available online and whatnot. He just won't be able to do a PTC, potentially a piece to camera, or a radio interview or something like that. So that I'd probably pick that up, or if it's a delivery thing, John might do it. That's generally it's availability. We talked about that before. If a person isn't available, we'll talk amongst who would be the best person to do that. Genevieve?
Might be best if I just email some comments through, but just the consistency of messaging in these types of events. Sometimes, and I know it's not intentional, but the information may be first seen in the media as opposed to through our channels. And, with all the good intentions, I'm not having any criticism of staffing or anything like that, not at all. It's just going forward. Some of the visuals that we see in the media are not supplied to us. So that's really important for people who might only have 2 minutes to read something, the visuals that go with it, that we can provide, as a sort of a pro thing. So I found that really clunky and quite confusing during this particular incident of the Black Cat situation, and it became confused in that process. So thought the technical information from the hazards team was amazing, but it's just that proactive sort of uplift for getting a story across in a timely manner was really difficult when you saw it in the news first. So.
Can I clarify? Do you mean you would like to receive, say photos, or if we have diagrams, so you'd like to receive those so you could reshare those? Is that your request?
That's correct, because I wouldn't like to sort of assume something from somewhere else that it's not actually our information. Photographs in particular. It's easier to share, and there's no sort of intellectual copyright issues if it's from us. But in the absence of that, which I did actually ask for, but I understand in the situation there wasn't time, but then they end up in the media and not with us. So it's like...
Thank you. That's great feedback, and I can talk to the team and try and get some of the get that built into the process where we can get photos sent as well. Just also be aware you are obviously very welcome to share Environment Canterbury's social media content what's on our webpage. So you are able to use that there. If there's a credit, so if the photo's been credited to someone, which we used just this week with some photos taken in Wainui, just make sure you credit that photographer. That's just for those that aren't used to the legalities behind using photos. But yeah, that's a great point. So I'll talk about that process with the team.
Megan?
Thank you. I always say it's a bad council day if I walk away more confused than where I started, which is why I've got lots of questions today. But I've got two questions, and I'm just going to ask them together rather than go back and forward. But the first is around so this slide here, significant incidents. I'm not talking minor incident, just a significant incident. And I'm trying to understand the second bullet point up the top, the role of mana whenua, because, obviously I'm the governance lead for 5 of those, and Yaen's the governance lead for the other 5. And where there's a significant incident, I'm left not knowing what to do. And I'm leaving it to the staff to get on and do the incident, but then I'm directly reaching out to the chairs of the runanga to get information about what Environment Canterbury are doing. And then I'm asking their opinion of how are we going? And so it's all very much one way, and I've got no way to actually lead that relationship because I just don't have the information to do it. And I don't know, Yaen's been around a lot longer than me, and maybe it's about sitting with him and going, how have you done this in the past, and what is our role, and how do we actually communicate? That's my first question, like what is my role as a stakeholder for those relationships? If you're engaging with mana whenua, how do I get clarity of that and know what's occurring? And then my second is, and then what is the role of, so as all runanga communications go past to my haerenga team, what's their role in this? So it's my role, and what's their role, please?
We are actually just undertaking a learning inquiry from the last round of incidents that we've had, because obviously we've got protocols which can be nice and tidy in a particular incident, but once you get a bigger incident, or in this case where we've had several going at the same time, things can get really mucky. So we are just undertaking an inquiry at the moment. And one of the things that has come up is how and who is communicating with the runanga, and also within the runanga, who are we talking to? Because we've also had that come back where the incident team has given the information to the contact, and then we've then heard next from the chair of the runanga going, what is happening? Why aren't we hearing from you? And we go, okay, we have. So there's a bit of a grey area, and we'd actually really value yourself and Councillor Cranwell's input into that, so we can loop back round with you on that. I think I'm also hearing that we need to make sure when we are doing that communicating that we are copying you into that, so you know when we have made contact and who we've made contact with. In this instance as well. So that is on us as well as part of that learning inquiry, that how are staff making sure, having allocated relationships, you've allocated yourselves to the runanga, and we've also got stakeholders, how are we making sure you know when we're talking to your relationships so you know what's been said as well. So there's quite a lot that has actually come out of this learning inquiry that's still going on. So thank you. Those are really live points with us at the moment as to how we could do that better. Yep. Yes.
Ashley. Now this time.
I did put my hand up. Just talking about all the incidents that we've been having, and the wastewater treatment plant clearly affects my constituents considerably. And mostly I was just getting the information from media or at the same time as everyone else. And I just wonder if we go through governance, obviously, but I wonder if there is a process, a procedure where, for example, if the wastewater treatment plant is happening, or if the Hallsall quarry is happening, whether those of us who they're in our constituency can just send a quick note to you guys saying, can you keep us informed at the same time as you're keeping the chair informed, so that we can do our social media properly, basically.
Thank you for that. I think also I take away from that we can better inform you as well. rather than you having to come to us. And so that's our lens as well. So much like Councillor Mackay just requested, I think we need to consider that as well, make sure that we're keeping you in the loop there.
Constituency stuff.
Yeah, I know that there are sit reps that go out when a significant event happens, and I received the most recent one. I can't remember what it was about. There have been so many, but I know that there are sit reps that go out, and so my job now is to go out and make sure that they are regular to the council and make sure the councillors are included in those.
Claire?
Yeah, I think just thinking, and probably both Megan and Ashley have brought them up around councillors' roles in significant incidents. I think that's really a sensitive area, and that we as councillors need to be very, very careful, because we've got to stop and consider that every potential one of these significant incidents could end up in a prosecution, or certainly an investigation and prosecution. So I just know from previously in Waimakariri some public meetings around hearings, for example, or other incidents that have happened, Dyken, Saltwater Creek. If meetings are called and they want you to go there, they're expecting you to say something, and you have to be very careful, because everything you say here can be used in the future. So I guess I'm just cautioning, particularly for significant incidents, how we actually respond or react socially and in community.
If I may, just on that, I think, and I think Megan's going to come on to it in a minute, but one of the, when in the heat of an incident, the most important thing for the staff is responding to that incident and getting as direct a line as possible to the community that needs to know something. And so very often we will make that jump and we will just go directly to the community. And we do occasionally, we are going to have to apologise to you after the event, because we have gone as fast as we can in that direct line. And sometimes that does mean that we will miss out bringing the councillors in at the appropriate moment, or in the case of getting photographs and things like that, we know that they are incredibly useful to you, but sometimes we're moving very quickly. Now, that has also, in defence of what you're asking for, that has also become habit for us. And so incidents for our incident team are their operational responses. They're doing this all the time, literally all the time, round the clock, responding to incidents. And so triggering what is significant, and some of them recently, they've been very obviously significant incidents. Other ones for our staff, they are literally saying to us, why are you getting involved? This is our bread and butter. This is a normal incident. And we are the ones going, actually, this will have political interest, or this will have high community interest. Yeah. And so, so in sort of a defence, if you like, of how we're operating, we are trying to get to the community as fast as we can. The most helpful role as councillors you can play for us is directing your community to the single source of truth, rather than us giving it to you and you giving it to them. Now, that doesn't always work, and you also have a role as constituent councillors where you need to be involved. You need to know what your organisation is doing, and we do recognise that. So we're just, I guess, in saying that we are operating a little bit in the grey, and so sometimes it will take something from one of you to say, actually, there's some noise that you might not be hearing, and that's really incredibly useful intel for us. Because we're going, oh, okay, we were just simply responding to an incident and not realising the noise that this was creating in your community, and you're much closer to it, you're hearing it. So that's really useful for us as well. But so we might not be getting a perfect process every time for you, but please work with us so that we can then help bring you in on that.
And that's where that constituency councillor piece comes really important, because
Correct.
You have your ear to the ground in the city or in Ashburton quite often, and whatnot. So I've got a couple of people who had questions. Were you next, Sarah?
Very similar. So, say if there was a poisonous gas in Hornby, and so we had to work fast.
Let's hope not.
Yeah, but something like that. So, can we have a list of things that we can help you with as far as engagement, or is there a
In some ways, it's a bit of a yes and no, because depending on what the incident is would depend on. So, for example, if it was something like that, civil defence would mobilise, the controller would take over, and even the chair wouldn't have a voice at that point. So, yeah, because the councillors
passing
and
it
the
to John.
stuff, it goes into the civil defence machine, and they then dictate exactly what happens, and quite rightly. The grey area, I think, is where something is a significant incident but is still within our incident control. And so that working directly with us, not with the person who's responding to the incident, so for example, a Lee or a Jude, but coming perhaps through Megan or myself, through governance, that's a useful conduit back to us. To
And
say,
that's
how
where-
can we help in this particular incident right now? How can we help?
And that's where I just said that ear to
Yeah.
the ground that you would have from your community that you understand would be really useful as intel to provide to the team to then provide better communications. It's about making the comms better. If you're hearing something, tell them so that they can put the message in so that it targets the right places at the right time.
If I can just give an example of that. So, Councillor Campbell, hearing what was going on the ground in Bromley, we were using odour. Odour is something that we do. We go out and we determine whether something is offensive and objectionable odour. It's crossed the boundary. We talk about odour. Councillor Campbell contacted me, and in the course of the conversation said, "Do you know how irritating that is to the people on the ground? This is a smell, a stench. It's disgusting." We're using odour, it minimises. We were using our language, it wasn't landing in the community. We changed the language. That kind of thing is incredibly useful to us, because otherwise we will keep putting something out and inflaming it. You've got intel on the ground, that's really useful to us, we can respond to that. So that working together like that is very useful within these. But when we've got an incident team on the ground, they cannot be responding to that. So use us, come back through us, and we can triage as we can depending on what the incident is.
Ashley, did you hear something? And then I'll come to John, and then... Okay. You go for it.
So I'll ask,
That's about
I'll
life.
ask
It's
the
always
changed
moving.
one. So during that, you and I were conversing quite a bit. I'm just wondering what the protocol is for, we're asked mostly to go through governance. At what time can we go, yeah, no, I'm bypassing governance, I'm going straight to comms? What's the process or the protocol? Yeah.
Again, I think it's a judgment call. So the media inbox, Jack, so we have that on a roster. So there is always a comms person with that media phone and picking up that media inbox. So if it's a slower burn something that could then be put onto the governance tracker, it's another part of the business that needs to respond to that, we can make that call as well. If it's a weekend and you're in the middle of there's an incident happening, then that's your first point of call, and we'll pick it up from there. So so there's a team of people, as Megan said before, in an incident who are running comms. We might have 2 or 3 people who are just on that incident. You don't need to know who they are or what they're doing. You can just use that one point of contact in, and we'll make sure that we're triaging that behind the scenes. Bearing in mind, we're also doing all those other things that Megan talked about in terms of internal comms, stakeholder comms, talking to the Runanga and so on. And so we may not be instantly responding. But that's your point of contact, and we'll go as fast as we can on that back to councillors. Yep.
John?
Thank you. I just want to change tack a little bit, and I've got a whole page of notes written here, and I've got them all numbered, and I'm going to try and be coherent.
So organised, John.
If I'm not, my apologies. I think the briefing's really important, and it's a good segue into a conversation on the wider considerations at play here, and that's the reforms there. To me, the majority of the comms is clear on who speaks and where there's any uncertainty and where we go to. My issue is around the reforms and the divergence of council opinions. And in my previous role in the Zone Committee Chair, I wrote opinion pieces monthly, and I initially started to go through Environment Canterbury. And the result was basically the community saw a message of nothing to see here, move along. So I moved away from that. And that's one of the real issues I see. We're in a circumstance now where time has changed. we're in reforms, there's a lot of conversations there. There's important considerations that need to flow out into the community, but we've got a lot of very tight barriers around us on what we can and cannot articulate in the community, and that bothers me. Like what we want to try and achieve is all on that last page, mana, information and facts, and and we're very, very confined. So I think we need to have a conversation on how we're going to actually have these conversations, because I would love to. Mr. Mackenzie and I probably diverge quite dramatically on different positions here and there,
I thought we were like twins.
He isn't. That isn't Councillor David East anymore.
well, I did like Rommel when your father fought against him. So, but laying that aside, but there is this tension that we have at the moment, and a lot of our conversations are articulating some of the issues that we as councillors see happening in the future. And if we ignore having those conversations or articulating them with the community, the future for the CTB, if that's the way it goes, it is going to be compromised, because they'll have issues coming at them that they're unaware of. We know that they're coming. So how do we have these conversations? How do we articulate our comms strategy without being compromised in any manner, but have an honest conversation? And I think that's something that we need to have a bit of a discussion about.
Thank you, Councillor Faulkner, and that's exactly the. I guess my advice is that this council gets together and has that really robust discussion about how you do represent when you go out. You're spot on. It's exactly what our advice is to, but it's up to this council to have that discussion. If there are no...
Genevieve was next.
Agreeing a lot with what John Faulkner said just then, actually. There's a lot of reform coming, and that's also going to further restrict our voices as elected members. But before that actually occurs, I still think we need to have individual points of view, and also we still need to have individual opinions and voice. And to do that better, yes, I agree. I mean, personally, I could work better with you guys, and I'm quite happy to do so. And I'm quite vocal on different things. But my question is actually, from some of those points of view, a lot of community voice comes through in comments on social media, on my pages and things like that. And so sometimes, and I've just sent it through to TAF in recent days, a synthesis of some of that, well, actually all of the commentary on some of these posts about incidents in particular. And I'm hoping that coming forward with that, for you to do whatever you need to do with, does get considered in some shape or form for communications going forward. And, you know, not the narrative as such, but I guess the community voice and concerns of what's happening in their community. Is that happening? Do you actually consolidate a lot of the opinions of the community? Yeah. Sorry. Oh, God.
Most definitely. So we have reports pulled together from social media and media. Jack does the media ones, and so we look at what the sense is across the community and what that feedback is. We look at engagement, and we respond. So you'll also see it, especially in social media, because it's immediate. There are responses to the questions that often people write because they're passionate, quite rightly, about their area, but may not have all of the facts, and so we can provide some of those as well. But thank you. That's good information to have, good data to have, and definitely our teams are pulling all of that together.
Proactively, can we do that as councillors if we've got something unique on our own platform that maybe not have... I know that they're monitored as well. However, if they're not seen the same and we've got concerns about what the public is seeing and what may not be factual, we can send that to you?
Would love it. Thank you. That's great.
I've got a couple more questions, but how many more slides have we got on?
That's it.
Oh, this is it, is it?
Yep.
Sorry, I haven't
Yep,
looked at
so
the
we're
slides
finished.
earlier. So we'll go to Megan, and then I've got something from Nick as well.
Okay, so I've got one comment and one question, and my comment isn't for anyone to agree or disagree with. I just am putting it out to the world. So the way that I see the whole reform framework and how we deal with diversion positions is on the streamlining local government. We have a position that we put in a submission that we voted on, and that's it, and same with RMA. And I think it's quite comfortable to say this is what we agreed, and the comments like what Councillor Sunkel said, that it reflects our general discussion. But I think it's okay also to say, and this is my point of difference. It doesn't mean that I don't agree with it. Says, I have a point of difference, and I don't personally know if that's right or wrong, but I think that when we're working in political governance, we need to have those point of differences, and we can do it in a safe way. So I'm just putting that out into the universe. It might not stick, but but my question really is going back to all the spokespeople role, and then the one-to-one, like the staff to the spokesperson. What would be really helpful for me to see? And I know we've got like the whiteboard from ages ago, but actually they're in a table. And so, or some type of visual, so that then I know, because I think Nick Moody's Fish and Game. I think, yeah, okay, great. So rather than go to the whiteboard, it would be good if I had that reference point. So if something came up with one of my stakeholders that related to his stakeholder, that I know who to go to and who have those conversations.
There's a big thing in the councillors' lounge.
Oh, that big A3. Yeah, okay. No, I'll draw my own. Thanks.
You want something?
We're really happy to help with whatever visual kind of works best, so we can touch base with you and we can certainly do that. Yeah, it's a complicated chart, but it was the only way we could try and get the matrix working. But if you've got a better way, we'll take it. So I'll pick that up with you, Megan. Yeah.
Nick?
Thank you. Add a voice in support of the request for photos. To councillors with a few words. Tricky spot for you guys, because I can see comms team works for the organisation. One source of truth, you can control the messaging. That's critical. That's comms, right? I guess for a lot of my stakeholders, the example of Fish and Game, the 25,000 trout and salmon fishermen, they don't trust ECAN, failed regulator. I'm very unlikely to share an ECAN post. It would reduce the credibility of the message to my audience. And I know it's the same in some rural communities too, we hear that a lot. And of course that requires trust. It's like, well, but if I give you the photo and the words, what might you say? And so a difficult situation, but sometimes to get the message out to our people, the branding is critical. And I've done this before, working with farmers. When I worked at DOC, I got it all sent out through Western Milk Products and fed farmers, none of our branding on it, and people engaged with it. So if we've got the content, we can send the message in a way that,
it works for your audience. Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's a tough one, but just got to put it out there.
Just two things. I mean, the reason we're so awesome here in this council is because we have such different people here in this room as councillors. So I think it's really good. We say, oh, yeah, we disagree, but we agree to disagree. And here's the general pitch. And I mean, I get a lot of people saying, how's it going, Andrea? So that submission you sent last night, there was systems reset is a great word to use. Yes, we do need a systems reset, but we want to do it in a way that isn't fragmented. So if some of these talking points that we just have right there ready to go, and keeping the expertise in this building is going to ensure success for the government, sort of stuff like that. So maybe a few talking points that we can use. Yeah.
Just for reference, that was the Te Uru Kahika local government simplification proposal submission. And remember, it's only a proposal at this point in time. I had Jan.
Kia ora tātou. Kia ora Megan, thank you for this presentation for the team. It's funny that last point there, if you ask questions of staff during an incident, it creates work. And right now, it's kind of as a governor, you think, yes, that is right. Kapai, yeah, agree with that. But as a kind of with the incident happening right in your back door, so to speak, you want to know what's going on and you want to question things. So it's as a more probably because constituent councillors as well, when it happens in your backyard, you really want to know what's going on and how do you find that information. Because at the moment, Dan Meehan's out on the Huka He's part of our rivers team. The Huka is one of the side streams that flow down the catchment, but it's got hammered, and so there's diggers out there and stuff at the moment. So, for me, I want to ask questions: what's going on? Who's doing what? But as a governor, I'm kind of like, it's kind of if you start doing that, then it's going to take people away from their work. So that's some of the knowing that point there was quite it's quite shit. That's because stuff is coming through my computer right now, ping 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 ping. Asking questions, but thank you for that. And I just thought I'd leave that point there, just so as the comms team, that's what kind of constantly happens as a councillor. Kia ora.
Jack, can you just let the person that I'm meant to talk to in a few minutes that I'm just going to be slightly late, please? Thank you. That's News Talk ZB on nitrates.
Delegate.
I've tried. No. Do you want to do it? Okay. So who is next? Okay, so we'll probably wrap it up, maybe, or is there any other slides there?
No, that's it. Thank you very much. It's been a great discussion. Again, I think I've said it about 10 times. I urge you to have that discussion as councillors, and some great points there brought out by Councillor Mackay. So thank you very much for listening. I hope it was helpful. Kia ora.
Yeah, thank you, team. I think that was really a good discussion. And since this is our last briefing for the day, can I ask Councillor Megan Mackay to close for a karakia?
Kia tōna manaakitanga a te minaro, ki runga ki tina o tātou, kia mahia te hua makihi, kia toi tukupu, toi tamana, toi te araha, toi te reo Māori, ki te tūduru, ka whakamaua kia teina, Homie, hui.
Tai kia.